So I saw the movie. Congratulations. It came
Oh,
out
cool.
so good. I admire like
Thank
it's
you.
like you did this during quarantine. Like how did you do it? Like like you were the director for this
We,
film. Like how did you do it?
yeah, we did it. We did it pretty early on, actually. We shot in June of last year. So very small crew, had to be
Right.
distanced and everything. So the film was shot with movie cameras that were piped through Zoom. So the actors
Okay.
could see each other in all the locations, and we
That's
played it like a
fun.
play. Yeah, it was really fun. They had to do their own makeup. They had to wire themselves up with their own lavalier microphones and all that stuff. Um, but we luckily it was all actors that we had either worked with or were friends, so they
Yeah.
all took it well and were good sports about it and dove in head first.
No, I definitely admire like this specific like cast and crew because I can't imagine like the like infinite limitations you guys or like limitations or difficulties, let's call it like that you guys had during this time. You were director, producer, co-writer, like
Sure.
all these things for the film. And you successfully managed to pull this off during like quarantine, pandemic. You had all these like limitations that you could have said, yeah, you know what, let's just like put this for next year. I don't want to dive
Sure.
into this, but you took on the challenge and you made the most out of it and you created a wonderful project. So I completely
Thank you.
admire what you guys did completely.
Thank
No,
you. Yeah.
any funny anecdotes, like you directing remotely, like any funny like episodes you guys had to go through? I mean,
Oh,
I'm pretty sure you
sure.
guys have plenty. I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, I mean, anytime you'd start getting into it and you'd have a technical problem, that stuff can end up very funny.
Right.
Um, but giving notes becomes a very complicated process because everyone can hear you. So if you're trying to privately tell an actor something, everyone's going to hear it, and they had to just sort of come to terms with that pretty fast. So that was pretty funny.
No,
For
definitely this will be one for the books. Like for sure you will remember like this experience. I don't think it will be, well, I mean, hopefully it doesn't repeat itself. Hopefully we get out of this quarantine,
I
but
hope so too. It was very strange to see things that we had written months before start happening in the real world. Uh,
right. Yeah,
Not
and
very funny, I guess. More terrifying.
right. And what was your inspiration or what motivated you to write this specific like storyline? Like I saw the movie and I saw how you shed light on the repercussions of what a person could go through when they're in such lockdown for like a period of time. So
Mm-hmm.
was that the message or was that like what you wanted, that circumstance? Was that what you wanted to show like to the audience? Like I'm curious like as to what you were trying to like achieve, like the message you were trying to send.
Absolutely. So, especially at the beginning of the pandemic, we were watching sort of the people who were supposed to be in charge really dropping the ball, I think, on
Right.
what was happening both politically and sociologically and everything.
Mm-hmm.
So the idea was to show a potential consequence, real consequences for people, maybe making a bad decision,
Okay.
doing drugs and going crazy, but the consequence is so heightened because of the state of the world, which I think very quickly thereafter and during filming, we got to see actually happening
Yeah,
with some of the riots and whatnot going on.
I love how you show like how like psychologically and also emotionally what a person can go through like in these times. And like it's fun to like go and see movies or projects that kind of like lift like your spirit and kind of like funny like comedies.
Mm-hmm.
But I thought it was really interesting. You kind of like gathered what was going on around the world at that time and kind of like put it on in there like in a movie for it to be like reflective of the times that we were living in. So I thought it was really cool.
Thank you. Yeah.
It really got like emotional, I guess. Like we people could really connect when they saw the film. Like I completely understand.
Thank you. Yeah, I think letting it be lighthearted at the beginning, but showing that sort of anxious humor that I was having happen. We'd all get on Zooms together in real life and have drinks, and people would be making
Right.
jokes that were like really dark about things that we were actually going through. Um, and it just seemed like an obvious thing to make a movie about. So I'm glad that it
No.
worked out. I'm glad you liked it. Thank
Yeah,
you.
like I feel like a lot of people kind of like dug deep and kind of like brainstormed a lot when a lot of the things are like what's happening in front of you and what you can make out of what's going around you.
Mhm.
So that's pretty cool to see.
And
And
in a way, the constraints make it easier, because if you are forced into a lane, filmmaking wise or with the story, you have to be creative. And I think everybody stepped up and did a really
right,
amazing job.
exactly. Yeah, like definitely, like one, like again, this one will be for the books. Like me being an actor or a director or any person involved in this project, like I think it will definitely be like unforgettable and irreplaceable, because I don't think we're gonna be living in another pandemic for like a very long time. So definitely, and this, I guess, when you're being presented to challenges, like you kind of like step up and learn more about the craft. So maybe like what were some of the things that you learned, or maybe like kind of went through them, if it hadn't been for this, you would have not, been exposed to.
Sure. I think I was just having a talk with somebody about this actually. It was
Oh,
interesting
okay.
finishing this, because I got to sort of ignore the pandemic for a while, even though I was
Uh-huh.
living in it while making the movie. I had
Right.
like a purpose of something to do every day. Um,
Right.
so that
And
was interesting for
that's
sure.
good, because a lot of people were like kind of like super
Yeah,
bored. Yeah,
yeah,
that was good to
exactly.
entertain.
But just simplicity can be a really good thing. Allowing a performance to play out in a single angle for a long time isn't always a bad. You don't have to hide it with editing and stuff, and that was what we were able to do with this.
No, completely. And given the pandemic, obviously people are kind of going into different platforms to like keep communication, and
Mhm.
everything's through Zoom screen. Like literally not a lot of things are done in person anymore. At least soon we will go back to that. But for right now, that's what it
Sure.
is. And I thought it was really cool how, the film has a lot of like screens, video conferences, but you still managed to keep the cinematic aspect in the
Mhm.
movie, which I thought was brilliant. How did you manage to like keep that balance,
That
or
was
like manage
early
that?
on. Some of that was actually written into the script, and I used the
Hmm.
same. I've had the same director of photography on all three of these movies, all three of the
Oh,
movies
okay.
that.
You have the same
So
crew. The same
yeah,
crew.
some of a lot of the same crew. So a lot of that was just saying, look, we don't want it to look like a Zoom feed. We want it to sort of be like a cinematic God view from the devices, and allow it to be really dark, because I
Right.
think,
Yeah.
you know, I know in the real world, when you look at the room you're in, often it is really dark, but on Zoom, it'll be brightened. So shaping the light and allowing it to have that sort of thin depth of field, and the characters pop out, was really
Hmm.
important. And then spent a lot of time blocking and making sure that the camera could move into the right places within the setup that had been created, so that the actors could do it themselves.
No, a whole different experience. I agree. Like I imagine what that must have been. How
Yeah.
was the casting experience? I mean, how did you get to meet like the cast and crew members? How was it? Like that casting experience and meeting like all the people.
Sure. Well, in some ways, it was easier than any casting I've ever done, because we didn't do casting. We just offered these parts to everybody.
Right.
There were people that we'd either worked with before or were friends.
Okay.
So in that way, it was a lot simpler than a lot of movies. And it was fun to get them together early to help them become a cohesive group, especially the ones that are living together in the movie. We got on Zoom very early on, and they're
Right.
still
And
friends. Really
no,
cool.
no,
Yeah.
definitely. Like, I mean, when you work with a lot of people, like for a long time, like it's inevitable to make like those bonds and those relationships. And there's something comfortable about working with people that you have worked with before. So I think that was a good choice for this project. So like kind of like lay back on the people you had already met and were comfortable in working with, and it definitely turned out
Yeah.
completely fine. It was super. It was a very great movie. Any future projects you're working on? Anything
I've
new?
Yeah, I've got a couple that are coming up. I'm shooting a film called White Bread later this year, which is a thriller,
Okay.
sort of like a Gone Girl style thriller. And then
Okay.
one that I wrote with the
Those are
same
fun.
writer. Oh yeah, I
Those
love
are
thrillers.
fun. Like
And
if
then
it's
another
fun
one.
watching, I imagine how fun it must be kind of like creating the storyline to it. Like it's a
Oh,
whole
super. Yeah,
different experience. So yeah.
it's great. Yeah. And then I have another one called Ghosted that shoots. It looks like at the very end of the year. That was written by myself and Leah Bosnos, the same writer as this. So that's exciting too. Same people, bringing everyone together.
No, yeah, that's definitely like that's a good formula to having a good like end result. And right now, like during these unprecedented times, I think it's a safe bet to continue working with the people that are going to make a great result and a great end product. So
Absolutely.
yeah, well, thank you so much for your time. I wish you the
Thank you.
best in all your future endeavors. I'm sure listen, if you were able to do this, like like during this time, I don't think any other challenges are going to trip you. Like you're good. Like I
No,
completely trust like your
we'll
next
see.
project.
Oh,
Well,
thank
if
you
you,
so much.
I for sure you will like be able to go over them. So you're good.
Sure. Well, thank you, and stay
Thank
safe.
you. Yes, stay safe, and hopefully next time we could do this in person and we can
Absolutely.
continue doing all of our projects in person.
Always.